Continuing my vow to be my true nerdy self, I just finished watching season 1 of Hazbin Hotel. I know, I'm very late to the party, shut up. While I could say a whole lot about the season itself, the things it does well and those it doesn't, I won't, as I feel I wouldn't be really adding anything new to this debate. Instead, I want to focus on the characters, my personal thoughts on them, and my hopes and wishes for them in Season 2. Quick note, there's a good chance that Season 2 is out at least partly before this video releases. So with that, this script was written on the 12th and 13th of September 2025. So per writing, I don't know what happens in Season 2, save for having seen trailers and teaser images. As I do also want to get this video out in a respectable time, I won't do every character, only the ones who have some form of significance in Season 1. Let's begin with the main character, Charlie. If I had to describe Charlie in one sentence, it would be, Charlie gives me anxiety. Her unquestioning trust and belief in everyone's chance at redemption, paired with her childlike naivete, showcased through both her methods and, most importantly, her drawing skills, make her insanely awkward to watch sometimes, especially seeing how easy it is to manipulate her as a result of said trust. In all honesty, the scenes of her I enjoy the most in Season 1 are those when we see her in her no fucks given demon form, especially when dealing with Adam in the Season 1 finale. When it comes to Season 2, we know from the teaser images and the cover text on Amazon that she will struggle to manage a now much fuller Hazbin Hotel, and will have to deal with sinners who aren't really trying for redemption. I hope we see her mature a lot through this, maybe under the direct guidance of her father, Lucifer, and for her to become more comfortable with her powers, perhaps even beginning the journey of mastering those powers and learning to fight, something I hope to see her do without holding back at some point in the series, though not necessarily in Season 2, as this can certainly be saved for a special someone. Let's continue with a character who is arguably the closest to Charlie and whose story intertwines heavily with that of the Princess of Hell, Vaggie. Now, I knew going into Season 1 that Vaggie is an exorcist. I got spoiled a lot, so that wasn't much of a surprise. However, how it was handled through her hesitance regarding anything involving heaven and the eventual reveal at Adam's hands was pretty good. However, the repercussions of Charlie and the rest of the hotel crew finding out about this was handled lackluster at best, as it boils down to a single scene of the rest of the hotel crew chatting with Vaggie, nothing more. On the flip side, her devotion to Charlie and the hotel are explored plenty, most notably in the song Whatever It Takes, and her interactions with Camilla later on, both of which add nuance to her character, and her dance with Camilla appears as a starting point for her journey towards acceptance of her past. For Vaggie in Season 2, I hope we see more of her past as an exorcist. Not just in terms of exploring the things she's done, we can imagine those pretty well considering her rank as Adam's second in command, but in terms of how she learns to accept her past, learn from it, and eventually truly embrace it as part of herself, not something to be hidden and unseen. Furthermore, I'm curious to see how her role within the hotel will change, now that Hell is, at least partly, aware of her past. Most of all, I do hope we get a long segment, hell, even an entire episode, devoted to Charlie and Vaggie, and their relationship with Vaggie's secret now out. I want them to truly have this one-on-one conversation, perhaps as a song, perhaps as an episode, whatever, and be honest and vulnerable with each other. And I want this to be given the time it deserves, not just a throwaway segment that lasts 2 minutes. Moving on to the asexual icon and walking red flag, Alastor. Where the hell does one begin with him? He's arguably the character that is given the most lore and attention to detail throughout this show, while still leaving things vague enough to keep people guessing. His backstory and how he rose to power within Hell is given a lot of screen time, both in the pilot by Vaggie and in the series itself through the words of Mimsy. His powers are showcased early on in his relentless bullying of Sir Pentious, his defending of the hotel from loan sharks in Dad Beat Dad, and his contributions in the final battle, even though he does get his shit rocked in the end. What interests me the most about him is his character and the mystique behind him, as well as his apparent arrogance, showcased by his reaction when Camilla barely acknowledges him in the Overlord meeting, and his uncanny ability as a manipulator, with him, for example, turning on Mimsy in favor of the hotel, his deal with Charlie, and especially his interactions with Lucifer. These traits are both his biggest strength, but also his biggest weakness, as is evident in his battle with Adam, in which he deliberately not uses angelic weapons, despite wielding about 20 of them at once with his demonic shield mere seconds before that. We know from teaser images that the scar he suffered in his fight against Adam is still present and will play a role in Season 2, most likely as a hindrance to his combat prowess. We also know that with Vox being the antagonist for Season 2, Alistair's past with Vox will be a focus. Aside from this, I hope we see Alistair given even more nuance to his character, specifically through means of him being on the short end of the stick on the power scale for once, and his image of confidence and nonchalance breaking somewhat. His deal with Charlie, if it does get resolved in Season 2, I hope will be not one of manipulation or personal gain, but one of necessity, where he needs Charlie's help, say against Vox or with his scar, and him needing to waste the favor Charlie owes him in this way, as this would truly set him up to crash out and be the antagonist later on. And of course, as just about everyone, I want to learn about who is holding Alistair's leash, as referenced by Husk, and just what his deal with said person is. With the three big characters now out of the way, let's finish up the hotel crew, starting with Angel Dust. He's by far the character that I least enjoyed watching, which, considering I am both asexual and sex repulsed, is not a big surprise, let's be honest. His growth throughout Season 1 was nice to follow, especially during the Heavenly Trial, where we see him telling Valentino to fuck off while defending Nifty, and his general growing closer to the hotel crew, especially Husk, and him warming up to the idea of redemption and becoming better. What I'd love to see from Angel in Season 2 is how he now goes about his business with the hotel and the quest for redemption attached to it. If he's gonna be trying harder, or if he's gonna revert to an extent to not really caring about anything regarding redemption. As well as how is he gonna cope with the death, quote unquote, of Sir Pentious, considering his reaction to seeing it happen was rather heartfelt. We do know that at some point he will have to rescue Husk, as well as have his eyes forced open by who appears to be Vox, likely in an attempt to be hypnotized. I hope this leads to a development in his bond with Husk, given the rescue and all, with maybe the bond being the thing that snaps him out of the hypnosis, if that comes to pass. I am furthermore curious as to how Valentino will exploit the fact that he owns Angel's soul, and how he will attempt to use this fact to help Vox/Devise's ambitions, though that is likely linked to the hypnosis shown in the teaser image. Since I've alluded to him plenty in Angel Dust segment, let's move on to the
wise old bartender who's seen it all.
Husk. His character arc isn't explored in too great of detail, though we do see him grow more comfortable around the hotel crew and share a moment of vulnerability with Angel Dust before then going on to sing Loser Baby, where he reveals he used to be an overlord but gambled his soul away to Alistair. Similar to Angel Dust, I'm curious to see how Husk handles the new hotel and his role as the bartender/front desk worker, especially given the sinners at the hotel for the wrong reasons, and our knowledge that he can very much hold his own in combat and is not afraid to throw hands, or cards, in defense of his friends and those he cares about. On the other hand, I'd love to know more about his backstory, his time as an overlord, and maybe just see him regain a tiny portion of his true powers, perhaps taking those powers back when Alistair is at a particular weak point in his arc in Season 2. Lastly, to round out the OG hotel crew, Nifty, everyone's favorite cleanliness-obsessed chaos gremlin. We don't exactly know all too much about her, other than her soul, like Husk's, is owned by Alistair, and that she has crazy and violent tendencies, as well as that, obviously, she's the one who killed Adam. Now, Husk does mention in one scene that
you don't even want to know what her deal is.
But in Season 2, I hope we do the exact opposite and find out exactly what her deal is. How did Alastor come into possession of her soul? Who was she before coming to hell? And just where do her true allegiances lie? That, and I want to see how she handles being the filthy janitor that killed Adam, as well as just seeing her stab some more people, not necessarily angels, which appears to be set to happen given the teaser images we have. The newest member of the hotel crew is up next, Cherry Bomb. She gets close to nothing in season 1 in terms of lore and character, other than she loves explosives, is a friend of Angel Dust, and a rival to Serpentius. I want to see more of her backstory and lore in season 2, as well as how she copes with the loss of her rival who, let's not forget, spent some of his last moments confessing his love to her. I'm also curious to see whether or not she will now be a part of the hotel crew full-time or be more of a part-timer at the hotel, and if she will take up her own journey towards redemption, perhaps in memory of Serpentius or because Angel Dust inspires her to do so. Let's move away from the hotel for a little bit and talk about the King of Hell himself, Lucifer. His story up to now is his reconnection with his daughter, his fight against his inner demons, aka depression, and of course, his utter dismantling of Adam in the final episode. Aside from this, along with a few glimpses of his past with Lilith during More Than Anything, and knowing he is now a full-time influence/presence within the hotel, there really isn't all too much we know about Lucifer as of right now. That's what I hope season 2 changes. Let us know more about what exactly drove Lucifer to be as closed off as he was, and how his past life looked with Charlie and Lilith. There's 2 more things I'm excited to see. The first being how they play the Lucifer card when it comes to defending the hotel, given he is more than capable of wiping, say, Vox and the V's from existence with about the effort it takes to blink. Add to that, we do see him in his full demon form in the teaser, and we know he's at least throwing down with someone, which makes this even more intriguing. The second thing is, of course, are we going to see him interact with Lilith? And speaking of, let's talk about Lilith real quick. All we know about her is that she split up with Lucifer, hasn't spoken to Charlie in 7 years, and is currently chilling on a beach in heaven thanks to a deal between her and Adam, which I am dying to learn more details of. With Lute's demand that she put a stop to Charlie's hotel, it'll be fun to see if and when they choose to make her a more prevalent part of the story, and exactly what side she'll be on if and when that happens. One other thing that has my curiosity spiked is the question of whether or not Sarah and Emily are aware of this deal between her and Adam/Lute, and if they're gonna find out about it, perhaps during Lute's crash out shown in the trailers, similar to how Adam reveals the exterminations to Emily and the rest of heaven during You Didn't Know. Let's remain in heaven for a moment and cover our bases there, starting with Lute. Now the leader of the Exorcists, we don't really know too much else about her, other than she was quite close with Adam, whom she held in pretty high regard. Given we do see the Exorcist tower in hell get blown up, we don't know if the Exorcists even exist anymore in the fashion we see in season 1. What we do know, however, is that Lute will be out for blood, will get a new arm infused with what looks to be the remains of Adam's halo, and will be in hell at some point. I'm looking forward to seeing Lute as a full-fledged antagonist, learning more about her past and generally about life as an exorcist, or in her case, Adam's right hand, and the amount of bullshit she probably had to deal with in that role. She is confirmed to have a solo song, and given the teaser images, will be fighting someone in hell, both of which I'm very excited to see. I just alluded to them in the Lilith section of this video, so let's get these 2 done. Sarah and Emily, the Seraphim. One responsible for the exterminations and for protecting heaven, the other with faith that Charlie's hotel can work and willing to question the divine truth of heaven while ensuring heaven's entertainment. This in and of itself screams conflicts of interest to me, and I very much look forward to how the 2 of them get along. From teasers, it appears as though Emily will play a part in Serpentius' integration into heaven, whereas we don't really know too much about Sarah just yet. The most critical story point for these two in season 2 will most certainly be Serpentius, as now there is living proof that redemption is possible. This will likely lead to some degree of falling out between the two, and perhaps loop back to the Exorcists and Lute in some fashion, like disbanding the Exorcist for good now that redemption is possible, which could be leading cause to Lute crashing out. To now round out our excursion to heaven, I know I've been putting him off, so here he is now. Serpentius, the
Forgettable experience.
turned spy, turned hotel guest, turned the one redeemed. His character arc and evolution over time are true highlights of season 1, and his sacrifice makes for a tragic, albeit comedically abrupt, end to his time in hell. Him then face planting into heaven before Sarah and Emily signals two things. 1, a new beginning for our boy, and 2, whoever decided to spawn him in that room is an absolute troll. It's not too tough to predict where he'll go from here, given we know he'll be on trial in heaven, and given he has no clue how heaven works, will likely have difficulties acclimatizing to his new life, which, from teaser images, Emily, St. Peter, and who we know will be Abel, appear to be more than happy to help with. I expect him to be the cause of conflict within heaven's higher orders, namely the Seraphim and the Exorcists/Lute. And for him to, at some point, want to go back to hell to tell Charlie that redemption works, or because he misses his friends, especially Frank. A desire that will, let's be honest, likely be met with heavy resistance from Sarah, if not heaven in general. I am now on page 18 of my script, and I'm only now getting to the main antagonists of season 2. Oh well, better late than never, I guess. The V's. They are established as villains, each in their own way. Vox from being confirmed as a former rival to Alastor, and of course the main antagonist for season 2. Valentino from what he does to Angel, from being a close friend and ally to Vox, and from him generally being a dick. Velvet is the most up in the air of the three, though her arrogance during the Overlord meeting and her insistence on war with Heaven marks her as a bad guy for now. In terms of season 2, Vox will, of course, be the major focus, with his "you're either with me or you're against me" line in the trailer indicating there will be some degree of conflict between him and the other Vs. His ambitions as an antagonist seem to be about as high as can be, but we can't expect anything less from him given his power hunger, and I'm curious to see how far he can get and how he'll eventually fall flat screen on his face. Valentino is likely to be an ally to Vox, given their relationship in season 1, and he will likely try to use his ownage of Angel Dust's soul to his/their advantage at some point. If I had to choose one of the V's to die in season 2, he'd be my pick, with my preferred killer being Husk. Velvet, given we do see her a little bit irritated by Vox and Valentino during the final episode, has potential for a villain to hero storyline. She is, as she states in Respectless, the backbone of the V's, so her betraying or being pushed away by the other two could end up being a major story point, assuming her words are at least somewhat true. If this were to happen, I hope she doesn't fully become part of the good guys and remains as an independent overlord for the time being, even if somewhat friendly-minded or at least neutral towards Charlie and the hotel. All in all, I very much look forward to seeing the V's squabble for power and to the conflicts likely to be explored between them. Right, I'm now on page 20 of my script, and I think I've gotten through the most important characters, though please let me know in the comments if I missed anyone. There's a few more characters I do want to still touch on, so I'll do those in rapid fire. Here goes. Adam, the perfect asshole and antagonist for season 1. His antics, which embody basically all of the 7 deadly sins, fits his character perfectly, and his unceremonious death gives his end all the dignity it deserves. He's dead, and won't be in season 2 unless it's in a flashback, so no big segment for him here. Camilla, one of the few characters with a logical thinking brain. Given her profession as an angelic arms dealer, she'll likely play a role when Vox inevitably goes after her for weapons. I do hope she gets a chance to show just why she is as respected among the overlords as she appears to be, and why she's an angelic arms dealer. Zestial, a character whose design and mystique I really like, and who appears to be well respected among overlords, as even Alistair seems to at least respect, if not slightly fear him. His close relationship with Camilla may lead to him having some involvement in the next season, especially if Vox does decide to go after Camilla, who may turn to him for help. Rosie, a kind appearance I believe may be deceiving. During Ready for This, she converses in song with Alistair about how Charlie's potential can be guided, and how by being on Charlie's side, one will be on the winning side. She may turn out to be an ally to Alistair in particular, especially since Charlie seems to trust her, considering the advice she gave her in regards to her relationship with Vaggie. And last but not least, Frank. A funny side and comic relief character. I'm very much looking forward to seeing what shenanigans he gets caught up in, what his role will be, and how he adjusts to his life as the last surviving of the Egg Boys. So, that's it. All important, minus a few, Hazbin Hotel characters from Season 1, and my hopes and dreams for them in Season 2. This took me about a month and a half to edit, so some, let's be real, probably most, of the hopes I've had have probably been crushed by the trailers released ever since I wrote this script. Yay. Either way, I'm excited for Season 2 to be released about a week and a half from when I'm recording this outro. If you've made it this far into the video, please consider liking and possibly subscribing. I'd appreciate it a whole lot. As a final note, and perhaps a glimpse into the future, I do have an idea for another video covering Hazbin Hotel, but also a few others, none of which I'm 100% certain will even make it past the first draft of a script. However things go, I look forward to having more fun with creating videos covering really whatever I feel like, and I hope you'll join me for the ride. Until next time, goodbye.